Welcome to 3-week workshop on programming in C++. In this video, I'm going to explain the concept of data types in C++. So I think you know that in C language we have discussed some basic data types, and also the data types always to define a types of a data used in the programs. So type of data is used in the program. So that the data types plays a major role to work on to know about the types of a data. So there are different type of data types will be used in a programming language used supported by C++. One is a primary or fundamental or basic data type. Second one is a derived data type, and third one is a user defined data type. But you know that it is a primary, there is a fundamental data type. So for always it is supported for our basic inputs. So the data type always to indicate the type of data we are used for our programming purpose. So in mathematical, so we are saying it is a whole number representation. It means that there are two possible type of inputs. One is a number, and second one is called alphabets. So including alphabets, I'm saying it is called characters. It may be and also includes special characters. Numbers in mathematical we call as a number. The number have a two category. One is called as a whole number. Another one is called as a fractional number. So for a whole number, so in the mathematical whole number means the number is not having any decimal point. The number is not having a decimal point is called as a whole number. In technical term, so there are two data types. A single data type will be supported. It will be called as an integer. And the fractional number, the number is having a decimal points. So that in technical term, there are two data types will be supported for representation of the fractional number. It may be a float or maybe a double. For a character or special character representation. So in technical term, we call as character. It means normally in technical term we call as a character variable. So I'm going to define what is the memory size and what is the minimum value and maximum value. So here I'm going to define what is my data type, amount of memory allocation in bytes. I'm going to define what is the minimum value, and I'm going to define maximum value. So we know that the first data type is a integer. I will go with the order. First one is a character. So only 1 byte of memory allocated per character. So minimum value is 0, and the maximum value is 127 only. It means that if you see the ASCII table, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, that is an expansion or ASCII for translation of alphabets into number representation to convert the number into binary to store in the memory. So this is ASCII format. There is a 127 combination, but normally based on the signed representation, we know that it is a 8 bits. So that the MSB bit represent for a signed bit representation. If it is used for signed bit representation, and then for 0 to 127 combination. So normally 0 to 127 entries are there. There is a total of 128 entries there in ASCII table. So that always the character range varies from 0 to 127. If it exits, means that it will not have, that means the value which is not in ASCII table, it have a garbage value. And the next thing is character. Second one is the integer. For integer, it is a 2 bytes. For signed representation, the values varies from 2 power. So I'm going to use for indicating a power. This is XOR operator. That's here indicating is a power for easy indication. So 2 power is 15. That is called minus. That is a minimum value. And for maximum value is 2 power. Just 2 power 15 minus 1 for signed representation. For unsigned representation, you have to say unsigned before the keyword, so that 2 power. Sorry, it varies from 0 to, because unsigned, so that MSB be the represent for unsigned representation, so that it's a 2 power 16 minus 1, because integer is a 2 bytes. So unsigned representation. So in default, if you are representing it, always indicates for signed representation. It is a float. So it is for 4 bytes. So I will give you a formula. You can calculate it. So for a sign 1 bit, and for a fractional, that is called exponent, 8 bits, and for mantissa 23 bits, and for a double this 8 bytes. So that for a sign of 1 bit, you know how to calculate it. So you can calculate based on that, based on the value which is given, the limit. It is 11 bits, and for a mantissa, so 52 bits. Based on that, we can calculate the minimum and the maximum length for your primary data type. Second one is user derived data type. Derived data means the data type which is derived from primary data type. So that we can say that array, functions, structures, class, everything will be coming under derived data, means the data type which is used by others. It can be coming under derived data type. And user defined data type, we are going to define our own data type for that is coming under ANO. So these are the different basic data types supported by C++ program. So I will repeat once again. The data types or represent the type of data to be used in our program. So normally there are 4 primary data types will be used. One is for a whole number, another one is a fractional number representation, another one for attribute representation. For whole number representation, the technical term is integer. For fractional number representation, float and double. And for alphabet representation, character. So these are the 4 primary data types will be supported by C++ programming language. And one more thing I forgot to say. So we know that there are 2 representations we have for float and double. So then the difference is after the decimal points. If it is a float, it allows maximum 7 bits for accuracy, and for double, maximum allows 14 digits for max accuracy. So this is the way we are representing. Means this is the way we are representing the values in a memory. Just I can represent it here with the help of simple C++ program. And so you know that the first one is a header file. So iostream.h is a header file. So I'm going to define one integer variable here. So I'm going to display the value of a. So always you can store with the extension of .cpp. For C we have to use .c, but for C++ it is a C++. Means C++ in Turbo compiler the default extension is .c. Sorry, .c++. For clear screen, we have to define the corresponding prototype. So that if the prototype will be defined under conio.h. So that we call as preprocessors. By using preprocessors, we are included. So just to see that it's a 120 will be printed out. So I told that it is a signed indication, so that I'm going to represent minus 32,760. That is a range. That is called 2 power 15 minus 1. That is a maximum value. It will work. Sorry, I'm going to run. So it will display. In case if I'm going to use the minus 32,769, it won't be able to store it, but because we need a 16-bit to representation along with the sign, we need 17 bits. For integer, I have only 16 bits, so that it's unable to store minus 32,769. So that it go for reverse represent. It means that the ranges in the circular format. So it is means that the ranges both means that there are 16 bytes. so that the 32,768 combinations for negative representation and the 32,768 combination for negative representation. So that the negative values varies from minus 32,768 to minus 1, and the positive number representation varies from 0 to 32,767. We know that 0 is neither positive or not negative, but we have to use the 0 here. So that 0 is coming here, so that the remaining positive number representation from 1 to 32,767 only. Okay, so here I am trying to store the 32,768. It is a circular representation. So 32,767 it will store, but it is unable to store 32,768 because if you are using 32,768, we need 16 bits of information to store. So along with the sign, we need 17 bits. But for an integer, we have only 16 bits, so that the truncation will be happening, so that it go for negative number representations. So like that it will work. So even if you are trying to store 32,768, it will not show. It will store it after 32,767. The next value is in the circle is minus 32,768. So that it will store minus 32,768. Here in space, if I'm going to say 40,000, 40,000 is unable to store because integer is a signed integer. So it will be stored like that. If you are you can do a cyclic format. Just you can refer it what is the value. It will come in the cyclic format. And the next thing is, for example, instead of this integer, I am going with the floor. And it's a very important thing you must remember. The default if you are representing any number, the default representation is always to be considered as a double in a fractional number, and a whole number it will be considered as a integer. It is very important that default representation for any constant number representation in anywhere it always to consider as an integer, and for means for a fractional number it always to be considered as a double. It is similar to C. So it will be displayed as usual. So see that even though if you are giving a maximum value, so maximum 6 to 7 digits are accuracy can be followed in, can be possible to define here. If you are giving more than value, it won't accept it because the maximum accuracy coming under 6 to 7 digits in float representation and 14 to 17 digits in double representation. So that after that it won't accept the values. So I hope you have a clear idea about it. It is similar to the the size and memory representation is similar to C++. I mean C only, because C++ means it is C++. That means that it is the extension version of your C.